So last week I finished making my Carcasonne tiles, and now I'm moving on to making boxes for both sets. Now I've always liked the look of end grain chopping boards, and some strange part of me decided that I need to make an end grain box. So that's kind of what I'm doing. First things first, I need to unpack my table saw. I've moved on with these boxes already, basically because I can't see anything. I need to move on with them. I need to get them finished, really. I have a problem with the resin, which is to be expected. It has not set. It is still very sticky and actually quite liquid if you move it. So I don't know what I could do. I don't want to have to start all over again because I don't have the patience, frankly, to cut and sand and redo all the cubes. So I've split the tops off so I can actually work on the bottom of the box anyway. I'm going to give this another 24-48 hours. If nothing changes, I'm going to have to scrape it out and use something like spray varnish to kind of coat it and stop the sticky from leaking out. It's not ideal, but that's kind of the other option I've got. I've got a couple of bits here where it eked out where I wanted it to eke out, but they're a bit sticky, so that's going to cause problems with the sanding. That's a job for tomorrow. So I finished both of these boxes. They've had their coat of water-based varnish, and that's got rid of the sticky that was coming off of the knots. So that's a great finish generally. I've got one box that's got a really great body, but it has got some really quite large holes in it, and the other one that's got no holes at all, but the body's not quite so good. Ha! What the hell? This was initially a kind of a practice run for a project I've had in mind for a while. I've got half dozen oak flooring boards in the shed somewhere, and I've been debating making an end grain style box with them, but just thinking about doing that kind of thing on the scroll saw seemed impossible because there was no way I could get kind of a inch thick of oak through that scroll saw without seriously damaging lots of blades. So having the table saw meant I could actually try it anyway. So it was easy to cut on the table saw, although I did have some issues with kind of the blade burn, but blade drift. But I think that was just my technique, and not having a table sled at the time meant it was harder to actually keep control of the wood. So I now have a table sled, so it's a lot easier to cut generally. My intention was to make top and bottom the same, but I only had one more blank left, so I knew I was going to have enough to make that. So that's going to be something else at some point in the future. So that can just sit on one side until I decide what it's going to be. So generally, it wasn't a bad project to make, although it's a lot of physical work because I don't have a power sander or a planer or anything like that, so everything had to be sanded by hand, which came down to making 60 rods even, so each one of them had to be sanded on each side before being glued, and that was a pain in the backside. So that's something I need to think about for making an oak version of these. And the whole issue with the resin failing, I think I also need to get some decent clamps, because just using tape to clamp this wasn't enough anyway. So I need to first work out a way of sanding consistently without a big sanding machine, and second, how to clamp this together so it's solid. So I said I've got one that's got severe holes but a great body, and this one's got no holes at all and slightly less good body. So as it is, it's kind of a practice run for a future project, but it does the job I want it to do right now, which has become my Carcasonne boxes. So I kind of decided on this, actually doing this for a Carcasonne set, because I like the way that the squares on top here are kind of reminiscent of the pieces, the Carcasonne tiles. So at least that's my excuse. But I think that kind of works. Without actually writing Carcasonne on top, you can kind of see this is a tile game. At least I can, anyway. So both of these have got little blocks just on the inside that raise up the base so that I can put my little playing pieces inside. So these are about a centimetre high, give or take. This is my rough set, the ones I haven't really finished yet, and I've just kind of drawn on with Sharpie just to colour the markers, so they all sit nicely in that bottom layer. Then we have the shelf which sits just on top of those blocks, like that, and then the tiles slot in here, which is quite nice. It's quite neat. The only problem is they're a little tight, so I'm going to have to work out some way of maybe putting the ribbon or something on one end so that I can loosen a tile, because if I put this one in, then I can't get the rest of them out because they are really quite jammed in. I'm not going to have the problem with that one so much because that's it's got a couple of millimetres extra kind of space, but this one, if I push this one in, nothing else can come out. So yeah, that's something I need to work on. And also for the game of Carcasonne, you can play by scoring with a bit of paper, a pen and paper, or you can use something like this, which is pretty much the same sort of thing that they have in the actual Carcasonne game, which is just a path of 50 squares, so you can go around and count up your score as you go. So I'm going to copy this onto some coloured card and stick them in the box as my counters. So yeah, this is pretty much finished. I know that Carcasonne is not my game. I don't own the game, so these will never be sold. I will never make a profit from these. These are just for kind of family and friends use. My slightly better set is going to go to my friend's house, because when we visit we like to play games, so she keeps the better set, I have the slightly napper one. So that whenever we go to each other's houses, we've got a set to play with and don't have to remember to bring one. So that's set completed, or will be once these made. So yeah, I will not be selling these, because frankly I respect the guys that make the original Carcasonne too much to really steal their design. So I will put links to the Carcasonne game site in the description and on the blog, so that you can look up tile shapes and things for yourself. So yeah, it was a bit of a pain to make, and I'm disappointed that the resin failed. I would have liked to be able to put another layer of resin over the top and just kind of dome this out so you've got a smooth edge, but I also kind of like the feel of a rough wood, so I'm 50-50 on this. So hopefully I'll make a decision about that before I make the next one. So look out for an oak based end grain box, probably June, July next year.